Welcome to the Happy Hanukkah Studios. I am Steve-O. You can find me on Twitter at Drunk Shy Sox Fan.
Steven,
And joining me.
thank you for the Hanukkah whatever.
Shout out. Absolutely.
It's Carrie, it's that baseball fan on Twitter. We got a good show coming here. I got something to admit, and I don't like to do that. About a prediction somebody I know made. So let's get this thing on the let's get the show rolling here, Steven.
Wait, who's that person that made a prediction? By the way, this is the Believe in the Southside podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
For this show. You can maybe, if you're live, you can see the name right there. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the name right there. I am his biggest stan. Would you like to tell everybody what the prediction was?
Yeah. So I texted Steve that the White Sox would sign Benintendi to a full
taking credit for my work again, Carrie.
No lie, Steve did text me I want to say like two or 3 days before the Sox signed Benintendi, because we were just spitballing who they're gonna get, and you said my bold predictions: 4 years, 72 million, I think you said, or 70.
4 years, 72 or 70 million.
70 million for Benintendi, and you were like, because of Grafal and some other people, and I was like, I don't see it because I don't see the Sox spending money, but big fucking surprise they did. Good call, Steve.
I know. I oversold. I oversold how much Benintendi was going to get. 5 years, 75, which is a very White Sox type contract. It is a
largest ever,
but it is the largest ever as well too. So I really can't say it's a White Sox type contract because him and Yasmani Grandal are Benintendi and Yasmani Grandal are the biggest free agent signings in franchise history.
What's funny? Benintendi's going to pay off. He's going to do well, right? Just like Grandal did the first 2 years. And it's going to be like a weird concept. You spend money on fucking good players and they play well. I mean, it's weird. Right?
Exactly. I love that you bring up, or we both brought up Grandal here because I do want to bring him up later. So I'm making a mental note, actually a physical note to myself.
Did.
What's that?
He did an interview too yesterday.
Oh, that's right. I haven't even listened to that yet. Did you listen to it?
Yeah, I listened to some of it. It was pretty good.
All right. Are you a believer in the Yasmani Grandal resurgence?
Yeah. I think he'll be fine. I mean, one thing he talked about is it wasn't as much bad knees as it was a bad back last year. So he had a bad back. He had some bulging discs, but he didn't get it fixed. So maybe you just need to rest a little bit and then, rehab it a little bit. So, who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm definitely ready for Grandal. I love the guy. I think he's a great catcher. I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah. I mean, I do too. I think there's no way that he swings the wet pool noodle that he did at the plate last year. I mean, it's just absolutely insane how bad he was. I've never seen anybody. Now, the White Sox have had their history of guys that they sign and then they fall off the face of the earth. I've never seen somebody regress so quickly. And it's not even like he's that old yet. I know he's a catcher and catchers age quicker. But I really do think that Yasmani Grandal is coming back. Gabe in the comments letting us know that Yasmani Grandal is not good. I really do think that he's going to come back and have a solid season. I'm not expecting him to be, have a peak season, but I'm expecting him to have a solid season.
Listen, I just want him to do what he did 2 years ago. 20-something home runs, get on base a shit ton. Who cares about your fucking batting average? For a couple years there, he hit 230 to 240 with a 350 to 3. He had a 420 on base percentage.
Exactly.
I mean, last year, I just 202, 301 OBP, slugged 269. I mean,
yeah. There's no way. He slugs under 3.
You can't get worse than that. And that's why I think the Sox, with the Benintendi signing and some of these signings, like, I don't think they're going to get worse. And if they do, then it's like, wow, something really bad happened.
Yes. Well, thank you again for routing me in a direction that I wanted to go again, Carrie. You were on point. I wanted to ask your thoughts on the Andrew Benintendi signing. I think I've made my thoughts pretty clear already, but I am going to express those again in a little bit. I want to hear your thoughts first, though.
Yeah, at first I'm like, okay, typical White Sox move, getting a guy for just cheaper than $100 million. You know, you know, whatever. It's gonna be just another fucking White Sox move. But then you look deeper into the numbers, man. I mean, want a Gold Glove. I know people don't care about that, but it still matters. His arm isn't that well. It's not a good arm, but he knows how to actually play the outfield and play it well. Like if you want a Gold Glove, you can run routes well. You can, when the ball's hit, you know where to go right away. You're not Andrew Vaughn and Eloy Jimenez out there, right? So gets on base a ton, doesn't really strike out. Has a good average, whatever. OPS plus of 120. I mean, the guy's had a good, solid career. He's going to hit 15 to 20 home runs. I think last year was, a fluke year with home runs with him, with a lot of people too. And I think they're going to change the balls again, probably because people did not like that nobody was hitting home runs. So, and no shift with the lefty. I mean, how could you be mad about the signing? It's a good signing.
Exactly. And it's not the sexiest signing in the world, okay? Let's be real. The White Sox are not playing, at least when Jerry Reinsdorf is the owner and Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn are running the front office, the White Sox are not going to land the big fish. We are now officially, like, we can just own up to it at this point. It's not going to happen, so quit asking, right? They weren't even in talks this year for any of these big fish. Or even Brandon Nimmo, if you want to consider him a big fish, right? I mean, if they would have landed Brandon Nimmo, I would have been over the moon about it. But when I said this was a very White Sox signing, it's a very White Sox signing in the fact that it's got a little bit of a risk factor to it because Andrew Benintendi isn't what he was hyped up to be 3-4 years ago. Okay. When Boston, yes. He didn't, when he came off of that World Series, people were like, okay, he could be the next big thing, right? They weren't saying, people weren't saying Mike Trout level, but they're saying, okay, this guy could be a regular all-star. Okay. He hasn't performed to those levels yet. And the wrist injury is, something to take into mind and into consideration here with Benny. That being said, we're adding a guy who had an OPS plus last year of 120 in a down power year. Okay. Yeah. What you brought up in regard to the strikeouts is even more exciting for me because what I didn't want the White Sox to do, and now mind you, if they would have signed Joey Gallo, I still think this team would have been better. However, I think Andrew Benintendi is a better signing for this team because now Gallo's a good defender, but Benintendi's still a solid defender who doesn't strike out a ton. The last thing that this team needs is another guy that's going to strike out 200 times a year.
Yeah. And I think Gallo is more of a risk than Benintendi, and if you're going to talk about risk, and Jordan, to go along with that, I just looked up guys that have had that surgery. Jose Ramirez didn't lose his power. He came back just fine. Stanton was just fine. I mean, I get what you're saying, but there's been a lot of players that have come back from that injury with no issues at all. So
absolutely. Knock on wood, that he's going to be strong, but go ahead.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I was just saying, I think Benintendi's less of a risk than Gallo is. Gallo is the type of guy that could hit 150 with the White Sox and, maybe only hit 10 home runs and have another Adam Dunn season, and strike out 300 times, I think there's less risk with Benintendi, but it's like, okay, if you're going to go with the less risk, why not go in the upper echelon of the market? But like we said, White Sox move. But you if you're a White Sox fan, just be happy about it because
exactly.
They did something. It wasn't a bad move. When you are a White Sox fan, you have to just roll with the punches. And when you get something like this, you're like, okay, fine.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly, Jordan.
Right here in the comments section. Thank you to those of you that are joining us live. Comment section is always a great place, and we very much enjoy those of you that join us for these episodes live. Jordan Miller here telling us, good thing he's 28. 5 years is a good contract. Absolutely. I mean, look at the market for these top tier free agents this year, right? And yes, it's going to cost you top dollar, and yes, it's most likely, especially when the guy is 30 or younger, it's going to be a shit ton of years. However, thinking about he's 28 and you've got him for 5 years, not 28 and you've got him for 9 years, okay? Or I mean, think about the Xander Bogaerts contract. Think about the Carlos Correa contract. Think about the Trey Turner contract. These guys are locked up to their age 40, 41, 39. You know, I mean, you're talking about guys that are going to be playing well past their prime in these contracts.
Yep.
Okay. And as a team, the White Sox are not a team that's going to be playing at the top of the market. This is an excellent signing, and I'm very, very happy about it. Now, I got to ask you this question, Carrie. Would you rather have the White Sox have an off season like they've had so far? They sign Andrew Benintendi and they sign Mike Clevenger. Or would you rather see them have, and it's kind of a similar off season in a sense, going, but a little bit different on the contracts? Would you rather them do what they did now, or would you rather them do what the Cubs did?
So do not get me wrong. I am not saying what the Cubs did was a bad move. It just felt very Carlos Boozer to me, what the Cubs did with Dansby Swanson, right? They didn't get the superstar in Correa, and they didn't get the superstar in Trey. They didn't get the superstar in Correa. There was one more, right? Wasn't there one more?
I mean, you've got Aaron Judge, you've got Xander Bogaerts, you've got...
Okay, sorry, it was Xander, okay?
Yeah.
Trey Turner wasn't in the options. It was, remember with the Bulls, it was like LeBron and it was like Bosch, right? And then it was Carlos Boozer. That's who they got. The guy that's had some success, kind of like good at some things, but not great. That's what the Dansby one felt like. But I would rather be the Cubs. They spent on a better player. I mean, they've spent more money than the White Sox. I mean, I think I
guess you can't debate that, right?
He's got more upside to be a star than Benintendi does.
Okay. Take away Swanson. Would you rather them have signed Jameson Taillon and Cody Bellinger, or would you them rather have signed Andrew Benintendi and Mike Clevenger?
Oh, so you're taking Dansby out of the equation. I would say I would rather sign probably Benintendi and Clevenger than Bellinger and Taillon for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
There's more upside with Clevenger than there is upside with Taillon, but I think Bellinger could, what if he does get back to MVP form,
Right. Now, mind you, we haven't seen any sort of Cody Bellinger reaching MVP level since he hurt himself celebrating in Game 7 of the NLCS in the pandemic year. So it's been 2 full years of boo-boo out of Cody Bellinger. So I honestly, especially with the way the White Sox roster construction is, they cannot afford to sign a guy that's going to strike out a shit ton, maybe gives you a bunch of bombs, but maybe doesn't, and doesn't get on base at a significant clip. I mean, this is the exact kind of guy that the White Sox need in their lineup. So yes, it's not Brandon Nimmo, which would have been my dream, but I would have been super pumped I am super pumped that they got Andrew Benintendi. The comment section is great. Thank you so much to everybody that's here. I love that Gabe is in the comments.
Yes.
Maybe
we'll get you on here one day. Trust me. We'll work it out.
Absolutely. And I hope that there's no hatred for me because I am not the one that has reported Gabe's accounts. That would definitely be Sammy Davis Jr. 5000. So I want to ask you a question, Carrie. With the Andrew Benintendi signing, obviously he's not going to play right field. White Sox fans have talked ad nauseum that we need a right fielder, right?
They got him.
You really think Andrew Benintendi? But Andrew Benintendi's playing left, correct?
Yes.
Who's playing right, Carrie?
Mr. Coca-Cola, Oscar Colas himself. So he will be, I don't know if it's opening day, but he'll be playing right field for at least 100 and I mean, I don't know what that threshold is, but what 120 games or something like that? Is it the first month or something like that for service time? Because the White Sox are gonna
Manipulate the shit out of
use
that.
that, even though they shouldn't in a competitive year. But I mean, they've shown that they haven't done that before. I mean, if they sign him to a contract, but why spend the fucking money? So he's definitely going to be the right fielder. So they're actually going to have a good defensive outfield for the first time in I don't know when.
Yeah. I don't know if Oscar Colas is fantastic defensively.
Oh, they say he's good. Like the scouting reports that he's got a cannon for an arm.
I mean, he's got a great arm, but he's not fast. Like, he's not going to be, I mean, luckily he's got Luis to kind of, when healthy to cover some ground for him.
Not Andrew Vaughn and Gavin Sheets.
Seriously, though. So,
and it's not Eloy.
I mean, you have to be happier as long, the stay healthy thing, obviously, but healthier, this healthy lineup this year versus healthy lineup last year. You've got to be happier with this year's lineup construction already, right?
Yeah, besides second base, I'd say absolutely. I honestly think they should have re-signed Josh Harrison. So
absolutely. Well, Josh Harrison would have been an interesting signing, and
I would like him back.
I mean, he would have been a good addition to this team. The thing is, I gotta say this: if they were gonna bring Josh Harrison back, I just hate the idea of relying on Josh Harrison to be an everyday starter on a team that's going to push to win a division, right? He did excellent last year in a patch-up job. However, you're relying on Josh Harrison, who's for the last 4 years of his career has been, a bench guy, to come in and be a regular everyday starter at second base and produce. Solid defensively, but I worry about the offensive production, which leads me to this. Should they, as Jordan Miller here in the comments is saying here, do you like the idea of the White Sox acquiring an outfielder right now? Or, because here's the thing, we're White Sox fans here. And, it's the holiday spirit, it's the holiday season. It's the spirit of giving and all that, right? But let's be real. We're working on a budget here. We're not playing at the top of the market, and we're not going to get all of our wants and needs. Do you like the idea of them going out and getting another outfielder? Or do you like the idea of them going out and getting a second baseman, as you had previously mentioned?
Both. I mean, they should realistically be doing both. I think there's less outfield depth in the organization than there is infield depth. So I would probably rather have an Adam Duvall who hit 35 home runs, a couple of years ago, right? I mean, and he's a decent outfielder, I believe. So what if Oscar Colas just stinks it up because he's only really been in the minors for a year? I'd rather have an Adam Duvall, a Tommy Pham, than playing, right, in right field than Oscar Colas. And then you can always go get a second baseman, during the trade deadline, like a Brandon Drury type, who won't, cost as much, during that time. So I'm okay if you roll with Romy, who looked okay, and Sosa. So, I'd rather do that.
Yeah. So you're going with the outfielder over the second baseman.
Yeah, I am. Just because of depth, because of organizational depth.
And I think that's what sucks about being a White Sox fan and looking at this team, right? I think if you're any other team in a major market, your GM, your front office, your owner goes out there and they say, okay, we still have a need at corner outfield, particularly right field, for depth, because depth is important. Guys get injured.
Well, look at how many times it happens.
Right. And you have a need at second base because first off, the Leury Garcia signing, we don't have to go down that rabbit hole. It's terrible. You just cut your losses at this point.
I don't want to get worked up.
Cut your freaking losses like you did with Dallas Keuchel with Leury Garcia.
Unless he gets traded, like that one fucker said. With the Mets.
Somebody's packaging Leury Garcia.
Yeah, some stupid rumor. Leury Garcia and Joe Kelly and for Eduardo S. The trade makes no sense. James McCann involved. Shut up.
No, 100%. No, I did not applaud the Larry Garcia signing by any means. I have been pissed about this since day one. That is the most expensive homer in White Sox history.
Oh,
Game 3 of the
absolutely.
ALDS. I would rather have Nick Madrigal back, Carrie.
Shut up.
I know how much you love him.
He
So,
stinks. That guy stinks. That guy stinks.
so you would rather have the patch-up job at second base. Now, what, the rumor mill, speaking of rumor mills, right? There's been a lot going around in the White Sox Twitter rumor mills, so much so that NBC Sports White Sox is already starting to pick up on it and write articles on it because they're just an absolutely terrible account. I just have to be real. This is the same account that, posted the Carlton meme. You're waiting for the rest of the division to show up. The biggest rumor mill thing that's been passed around here is the Liam Hendriks idea, right? You're trading Liam Hendriks for a piece, particularly a second base piece. It's been floated out there on White Sox Twitter that Liam Hendriks could be part of a Gleyber Torres trade. Liam Hendriks could be part of a Jeff McNeil trade. Tell me your thoughts, Gary. Do you want to hang on to Liam Hendriks at this point, or are you trading?
It's not going to happen. He's not going to get traded. I just don't see it. I really do not see him being traded. They have a lockdown closer for a premium position at a bargain price right now. If you think about it, I just don't see him being traded. Why would the Mets trade for him when they have Edwin Diaz and just spent a shit ton of money on Adam Ottavino today? Right? Like, why are they trading for him? I mean, they have a surplus of players, but I don't think it's going to take a Liam Hendriks to get an Eduardo Escobar, right, or somebody like that. So I just don't see it happening.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't hate the idea, especially if you're going to get somebody that's already under control for multiple years, like Gleyber Torres, okay? I mean, we're talking about a guy that was a top 5 prospect in baseball, a guy that has proven that he can hit the ball, a guy that is proven, he's not a great shortstop, but he can play second base and give you a solid glove there. Something that the White Sox actually have had that they had last year. And is a question mark this year, at least in regard to the glove. I will say this, though. It all comes down to roster construction. The White Sox are, like I've said already twice on this episode, they're not a team that's going to play at the top of the market. If you're not a team that's going to play at the top of the market, you can't afford to spend $14 million a year on a freaking closer.
Yeah.
That's where Rick Hahn went wrong. That's where what all of this boils down to is you can't spend that money on a closer if you're not going to play at the top of the market. You can't spend that much money for a guy that's only going to see 65 innings a year.
In a position you could trade for that historically you've seen teams trade for them at the deadline and work out, and I understand why Rick Hahn did it. He can't play in the big markets with the Machados of the world and with the Trey Turners, with these $300 million guys. So he's like, okay, where can I play at the premium top of the market? Yep. I can do it as a closer. So I'm going to go get the best closer and spend a fuck ton of money on a closer because I have to make a splash.
Yep.
And where I can make a splash is that type of position.
Closer and catcher. Closer
because
and catcher.
They aren't as much money as some of these other guys.
And there's a reason why they're not as much money, because they play out of the 9 positions, normal starters in those positions, everyday starters, those 2 positions play the least amount of innings. Like do the fucking math.
Exactly. Those guys are playing every fucking day, right?
Exactly.
I mean, even starters, they don't pay the premium talent. It's just
right. Unless you are an ace, right?
Yeah.
So... And I get it. You don't want to do the closer by committee thing.
No.
But that's what Kendall Graveman's for as well. I know this is kind of a crazy take, and we saw 2 Kendall Gravemans last year. We saw the Kendall Graveman that was absolutely amazing throughout the first half-ish of the year. And then the second half of the year was, oh, Lord, cross your fingers that we get out of this game. Kendall Graveman's on the mound. And yes, he's not Liam Hendriks level. I'm never going to tell you that Kendall Graveman is Liam Hendriks or will be as good as Liam Hendriks throughout an entire year or through a multi-year stretch. However, it's a position that you can also trade for later. If you need to go shore up your bullpen later, it's a lot easier to trade, especially with the lack of prospects that the White Sox have. It's easier to trade the lack of prospects that the White Sox have for a relief pitcher versus a second baseman or a corner outfielder.
And I like what Jim says right here, right? You could throw Crochet in there. He's dominant enough to do it. You could throw Aaron Bummer. You could throw Ronaldo. I like people that say Ronaldo because he doesn't give up home runs and has kind of found something.
That's a Herb Lawrence take right there. He's always been saying Reynaldo Lopez for closer.
Yeah, and you know what? He had a good year last year, right? But
excellent.
Liam Hendriks is the best at his position. So I just don't see the Sox trading him unless a deal is like so good where you're like, you're going to give us Jeff McNeil and, you know, a prospect or something like that for him. Like, fine, fuck it, you know, do it. But I just don't see that deal coming unless the team's really desperate. So,
yeah. So
unless it's the Dodgers and they're like, we'll give you a good outfielder and Michael White or something like that, or no, whatever his name is, that second base, Michael Bush, and like you do that maybe, but I don't know.
So you wouldn't straight up do Liam Hendriks for Jeff McNeil?
No.
Tell me why not.
I think with 2 years of Liam Hendriks, you can get a lot more than just a Jeff McNeil.
Okay, Jeff McNeil and a mid-tier prospect?
I mean,
maybe.
But what? I don't know. I would rather get somebody younger with more control. I mean, I don't know how much control Jeff McNeil has.
I mean, you got this year and 2 more years of Jeff McNeil. I'm doing it in a heartbeat. He's not or this year and 1 more year, pardon me. He's an unrestricted free agent in 2025. I'm trading 2 years for Jeff McNeil for 2 years of Liam Hendriks in a damn heartbeat. And I know that Liam is a premium closer. He is arguably the best closer in the game. But this team needs more left-handed bats.
I know.
This team needs depth in the field.
What teams have gotten, especially at the trade deadline, for closers, especially that have a year and a half of control, right? You've seen the packages they've gotten back, right? Look at fucking Gleyber Torres was traded for Aroldis Chapman. You know, I mean, I don't know. I like Jeff McNeil, but I like potential other players better that could, you know, bolster the team up in a year or two. I mean, I don't fucking know. I don't know. That's the position the Sox are in. You know, I'm like, okay, fine. You're going to trade for Jeff McNeil. Then you need a closer, you know, and then you're like, okay, what do we do now?
Kendall Graveman or Raylo. You figure it out during the year too. I mean, that's the thing. Bullpen is so volatile. The bullpen in Major League Baseball usually is extremely volatile. And it's great when you can get a guy like Liam Hendriks, a guy that you can absolutely count on to shut it down, right? I'll be honest with you, though. I don't think the Mets are interested in trading Jeff McNeil for Liam Hendriks. They just signed Edwin Diaz, and they have Adam Ottavino now. And
other players. And David Robertson, too. Like, what are they going to use Liam Hendriks for? Just doesn't make sense.
Good. No, for sure. And I think bullpens be fickle, as our guy Billy Wire says here in the comments. Wow. And that's why you don't spend top dollar unless you're playing at the top of the market all the time for that position. I mean, I might even do it for Gleyber Torres, to be honest with you, because I think Gleyber Torres is this year and 2 more years of control. I think that'd be an excellent addition for the White Sox. But Gary, we're coming up on the half-hour mark. This was fun. I have one last question for you, though, because we were talking about Oscar Cole.
It's 8 days. It's 8 days, Steve. That's your answer.
8 days?
Hanukkah's 8 days. I know you were wondering.
Oh, Festival of Lights. Instead of 1 day of presents, we get 8 crazy nights.
So stupid.
It's still like my favorite holiday song of all time.
Well, it's
the Adam Sandler Hanukkah song.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
It's beautiful. So well done. O.J. Simpson.
Not a Jew.
Facts.
Yeah.
Yes, Carrie was a little late, so maybe we can go a little over. Let's do that. I told people we were going to do Oscar Colas predictions. What are your predictions for Oscar Colas in a number of categories? And first off, I'm just going to go. I'm going to start from the top here with games played. You know what? Games started. Better yet, games started. How many games will Oscar Colas start in a White Sox uniform?
I'm going to say 125.
125 this year.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised with that number at all. They are they're high on him, very high on him, and there are a lot of projections.
I get it, but I also am scared that he's only played 1 year in the minors and he was a 24-year-old, 25-year-old against, shit players. So who knows?
For sure. I mean, it's a little risky for sure. It's the projections like Steamer. It's wild to me. Zips, all these, analytic. I don't even know how to best describe them. This is why we need Alex Rudon to help me describe, these projection systems. They've got him at like weighted runs created plus between like 125 and 150 for the year, which already as a rookie, which I think is insane.
Yeah.
But that would be amazing. Oscar Colas home runs this year.
17
homers. Would you be disappointed with that with 125 starts?
No, I don't think so. I think it depends how it happens. I'll say that.
That's fair. I'll take that. OPS plus.
108, 109.
I like that. 108.
Yeah, like around there, 108 to 110.
Time spent on the IL.
He's going on for at least, let's say, we'll say one time.
One like 10, 15 days.
10 to 15 day stint.
Fair.
Maybe a paternity list. Who knows?
Love that. And Oscar Colas dong.
How big?
I'll leave that up for interpretation. This is why you need to join us live, because Carrie's giving us a visual.
I'd say like here.
Probably. Yeah.
And girth.
Maybe a little bit. Oh, there we go. Last question from a new fan in the comment section. This is actually a supporter of, the OG podcast of mine, Sons of Honarchy, Rick Carsley. Honest question. You put these two in a kiss-off, you and me, with old school rules. Who wins? I don't even know what a kiss-off is. That's a great
old school rules, though. Yeah.
I'd be curious to know what old school rules are as well.
All I know is I would win because I would just kiss the top of Steve's bald head and win.
That's fair.
I would win.
It's there.
One little
there for the taking. You can't do anything about it. Carrie, this was a blast.
Big pipe.
As always. The comment section. Solid as always. Thank you to Sally G. Thank you to Beer Garden Jim. Jordan Miller. Gabe popped in for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
New face.
That's
new face here with Rick Carsley. Sean Janko. Fantastic.
The Angels just signed Brennan Drury to a 2-year, $17 million deal. Sox couldn't do that.
What's Gene Segura worth?
Probably 2 years, $20 million at that point. Just fucking do it.
Go and do it.
Do it. Oh, God. That would be a splash. I'd be like, let's fucking ride.
Honestly,
tickets back,
Someone asked me where I would rate the White Sox offseason right now. I'd give it about like a 5 right now. If they signed Gene Segura and added one more piece, whether it be the outfield, whether it be pitching, I would give it an 8 or a 9. Easy.
If they come away with Gene Segura and Adam Duvall or Tommy Pham, I will literally, I'll go to the first game and I'll go shirtless the entire game. I'll be happy. So
there you go.
Anybody, but yes.
Come on, Rick Hahn, make it happen. We want to see Carrie shirtless opening day.
I'll show some titty. So
there you go. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you all. This is the Believe in the Southside podcast. Have a good one. We'll see y'all next week.